from the bottomless pit. But my aim
Till the philosophy which holds one race superior and another inferior is finally permanently discredited.
is finally and permanently discredited and abandoned. Well, everywhere is war. And until the color of a man's skin is of no more significance to the color of his eyes, I got you say war. And until the basic human rights are equally guaranteed to all without regard to race, that is your war. But until that day, the dream of lasting peace, world citizenship, and the rule of international morality will remain but a fleeting illusion to be pursued but never attained. Well, everywhere is war. Is the war. And until the ignoble, unhappy regime that holds out.
Well, good evening to you and welcome to this special program that is being aired in relation to the Colwyn Harding affair. It's the Colwyn Harding committee that have been, agitating in relation to the incident that would have involved the young man who was brutalized by the police and who would have had, some unsavory acts carried out against him. We have a huge panel. The panel will be in two parts, but beginning here with me is Tiffany Edwards, who would have been involved in that incident. She would have been part of that act where both Colwyn and herself were brutalized. We have Dr. Melissa Ifill, who is part of the Colwyn Harding committee, showing interest in the entire affair. We have the mother of Colwyn here, Sharon, and we have Mr. Nigel Hughes, who would have been looking into the interest of Colwyn and his family. Welcome to this special program.
Thank you.
Now, people would have been reading what would have been happening in the newspapers. They have some sense of what is happening, what would have happened. But Mr. Hughes, would you want to give us, again, the context of this entire affair and the reason for us being here?
Sure. First of all, thank you very much for having me in the program. I think the best way I could put it is just stick to what the contents of the statements that I took from the witnesses are. I first saw Colwyn in the hospital bed. Matter of fact, to put it in context, Melissa, Dr. Ifill called me after I'd read the horrific story and said we need help, and of course, absolutely no problem. This is one of the most just causes that I've done. When I spoke to Colwyn in bed, this is what he said happened. Very early in the morning, probably about 1:32, he and his girlfriend, Tiana, were in this house in Temeri North. They were sleeping, and they heard a loud knock on the door. Matter of fact, he said when he looked through the window, he saw shadows outside, and then he heard a very aggressive sound at the door saying, "Open the door." He got up. His girlfriend, Miss Evans, went to the door. They kept hitting on the doors the way police do. Eventually, the door was opened and they came inside. They immediately grabbed him and started to assault him, hit him. This police officer, who I wouldn't name on the television, but he certainly named on Facebook, had a baton and started to hit him. And there were 5 people. 4 of them had neighborhood community watcher and neighborhood community police on them. They took the girlfriend outside, placed her in the back of the pickup, and she was there with 2 officers. And Colwyn then said, Singh started to beat him. Colwyn said, "What are you looking for? What are you beating me for?" He hit him and blacked him out. This is with the baton. Hit him, the police officer hit him blacked him out. He said when he came through, he was lying on the floor of the bathroom, and they were throwing water and Cokes, which I assume is Coca-Cola, on him. At that stage, Singh said to him, I'm going to, forgive me, the officer said to him, I'm going to insert this, I don't want to use the language, but we've got the idea of what he's going to do with the baton. The baton had a condom on him. He started to beat him again, and he took him from the bathroom into the bedroom. His girlfriend, in her statement, said that when she left the house, when they took her out of the house, Colwyn had on a three-quarter pants and a particular brand, I think it is American Eagle underwear. Good. So they revive him, take him to the bedroom, and that is where he is assaulted more. His girlfriend, who was sitting in the pickup outside, hears the screams, and she says this beating took place for about 20 minutes. The firemen who were the police, the fire station opposite, came out because in the middle of the morning at 2 a.m. you're hearing a male person screaming. They came out and they were looking to see what was going on. She ran away from the two officers in the pickup, ran inside the house, and when she got inside the house, she said Colwyn was, well, various body parts swollen. He had on a totally different, his underwear, his boxes had changed, it was a different brand. As a matter of fact, it was a small brand, could hardly get into it. And this police officer was saying to him, put on your clothes, we got to take you to the station now. Proceeded to beat him again. They took the two of them outside, put them in the van. I mean, there are various aspects, the details which are in the statement. For example, when he was beating him and he was screaming, he took a pair of ladies' underwear and put it in his mouth to stifle the screams. Anyway, took him outside, put him in the van, and there's a seat in the van, and he pushed him underneath the van, and he was just crying and screaming. His girlfriend is out there. They drive 2 houses down the road, and they pick up a 12 or 13-year-old boy saying that they're looking for his brother. So they pick him up, and she says they take a chopper, which they had picked up from Colwyn's house, so the house that Colwyn and his girlfriend were in, and they broadside him on his face, and in her words, they brand his face. This kid obviously is screaming now, because this is about, I don't know, 3:30 in the morning. And this young lady here, Miss Edwards, is coming up the road. She hears the scream, and she will tell her own story. She hears the scream of her brother-in-law, because this 12-year-old is her fiance's brother, and she was just coming up the road from a shop, and the person she was walking with said, don't worry to go in there. And of course she said to him, I have to go in. I can't hear this little kid screaming and not go there. I don't want to paraphrase the graphic nature of what happened to her. She's here. But in effect, she is grappled. The most vulgar form of racial invective is used on her. She's taken back inside. They tumble up the entire house, and in an act of contempt, don't want to use anything that is any stronger than that, but it deserves stronger comment. They pick up a bucket of water and throw it on an 8-year-old and a 9-year-old who are sleeping on a bed. So they bring her back outside, put her in the back of the pickup. They have the 12-year-old boy at the back of the pickup, and Colwyn is placed underneath this seat where he's screaming and crying. She will give you the details of what he said, because I don't want to prejudice what she says. They take the 4 of them to the police outpost at Timeri. That's literally, less than 100 yards away from where passengers arrive. They take them into the outpost. They handcuff Colwyn to the bed frame, the 12-year-old to the bed frame. She is sitting down next to Tanisha, and they leave. Colwyn is so badly beaten that the police officer at the station was afraid he was going to die there. So he calls Timeri police station, and in typical police fashion, says, y'all come and pick up your prisoners, because he ain't want to write no statement about how, if this boy passed there. All this while, Colwyn is hollering and crying, and Miss Edwards was there. She will give you the graphic detail. After about an hour and a half, the same police officers come back to the outpost to pick them up, to take them away. So that in picking them up, Miss Edwards is sitting on the walkway from the police outpost to the road when you're leaving. She says to them, "I am in pain, I can't come." The same police officer proceeds, she will tell you, to rough her up and kick her 3 times in her stomach. And I asked her that unprompted, and I asked her to demonstrate and to explain. She is further injured and can't walk now, and Tanisha has to assist her to get into the back of the pickup. When she gets into the back of the pickup, she discovers that she is bleeding. And she is in real pain and agony. They drive them to the Temeri police station, which is at the Rickson Sari, welcome to Guyana side. At Temeri station, they put them on the bench outside. Colwyn, at that stage, is so badly injured that he makes a artificial sling, and he has his head on the shoulder of Tanisha, and he's crying, and all the while he's saying, "Oh, somebody just call my mother and tell she what happened." So he's there in pain. Tiffany says to me, the way in which and she will demonstrate, the way in which he was sitting, he could only sit on one side, one cheek of his rear. And she said that he had an odor. While he is there, he is, and I know this is hard because I can see her tearing up. While he's there, he is in absolute agony with his head on his girlfriend's shoulder. And the girlfriend says, "We are locked, we are full, we ain't do nothing, we're not criminals. What was the story here?" The 12-year-old boy is there. They leave. They go and arrest Tiffany's boyfriend and bring the entire contents of the house. Fridge, stove, everything. She'll give you the details. Back to the place and arrest him. While they're there, the girlfriend, Tanisha, jumps up and says, use the word, "Why y'all interfering with this? Why y'all interfere with this? Why y'all are supposed to bug it?" That's what she said. Do that. Singh flies into a rage and runs and grabs her. In that process, because he's now trying to get at, he grabs her to move her out the way to get at Colwyn. He hits her aside. She falls and hits her eye on the edge of a desk. Now, she is a very light-skinned African Guyanese, so she gets an immediate black eye. When Singh manhandles Tanisha, Colwyn gets up to grab her, and the police officer proceeds to beat him again and drag him off to the cell. And that's where they put him there, 3 cells. Cell 1, 2, 3 are the back cell. They put him into the back cell where it's feces ridden. He's placed in there. He is crying out for pain while he's in there. They then place the other gentleman, Tiffany's boyfriend, in the cell. Some time passes. They take Tiffany's boyfriend out. His name is escaping me at the moment. I took a statement from him to bring him back up front. And then Colwyn's girlfriend says, "How y'all could bring him out and not bring Colwyn out?" And as Paul Keynes Douglas would say, "Who tells she say that?" They then shackle her hands and her feet to a bench or something there. And she's in the station there. The rest of the night, relatively speaking, is uneventful after that, and so too is the rest of the day.
There's on December 15th.
November, this would be, the rest of November 15th going into November 16th, that's the Friday into the Saturday, relatively uneventful. They take them off to the Isla Penitence, that is, they take Tiffany and Tanisha off to Isla Penitence. But that had its own drama because the female police officer who was there got into a fight with Tiffany's boyfriend's sister, who came to find out what was going on. Winella Clark. And said that she's the bottom one for the station. After they are shackled both in their feet and their hands, takes cologne and sprays it in their eyes. Right? So the two of them sitting down there, and this is what happened. And she proceeds to abuse them. So they then get taken off to Ifill Penitence. During that same Saturday, they remove the two men from cell 3, which had the feces, and put him in cell 2. While he's in there, there's another gentleman called Muslim. As a matter of fact, he was there since the night before. Muslim and his son were in cell 2 all night. And when they were beating him, they kept calling out for the officers to come and help this guy, because he's looking as if he's not doing poorly. They're in the cell, in cell number 2. During the course of that Sunday afternoon, female officer is sitting down outside and is having a discussion with a police woman's son, who apparently was locked up for some reason during the day. And she starts to taunt Colwyn by saying, "Is good thing do we do, sorry, good that the police officer do we do to you? You know, he's a girl, they should have do more." And a voice comes from the cell saying, "It should have been your mother." Well, again, as Paul Kings Douglas would say, who tell you say that? This female officer and this other police officer then come from outside. She says, "Wait till this officer comes." The shift changes, he turns up, doesn't sign in yet. So he and this female officer then come around, go into the cell, and proceed to beat everybody in the cell. But the focus of their violence is on Colwyn. Muslim, who's in the other cells, hears his son scream. When he hears his son scream, he said, "Why you beating my son for?" Because Muslim now is in cell number 1. These 4 young men are in this cell. So Muslim's son, Colwyn, help me, what's your boyfriend's name? I keep...
Rodney Clark.
Yeah, Ronsley Clark, and somebody else are in this cell. They crawl out. Muslim, because, I don't know, his cell is not locked, so he comes into the passageway, still within the lockup. And they're beating this guy. They hit him so hard that he blacks out. Colwyn totally blacks out. And instead of stopping to beat him, this is the officer, this is the male officer who's the man in question, he continues to beat him back to consciousness. It sounds like a contradiction in term, but that is exactly what Muslim said. He knocks this guy out, and then he beats him back to consciousness. So he keeps beating him repeatedly, and then he ends up in a state of semi-consciousness because he's fluttering on the ground, and they leave the cell. At that stage, Muslim and Ronsley Clark start to treat this guy, and they start to shake the prison doors because they feel now that he's really going to die, because he's on the ground, he can't move, and he's just involuntary spasms. So they're keeping a lot of noise in the station, saying, "Hey, this man got dead in here," and in Muslim's classic terms, he said, "I didn't even want to stay in the cell where a man is about to die." 2 officers upstairs, who they say are brothers and sisters, come down, observe what was happening. The male officer says, "This foolishness got to stop because I'm tired of this. I ain't dealing, I want to deal with this." He then calls the corporal upstairs, who comes down, observes what happens, and brings ice and gives it to Ronsley Clark, who between himself and Muslim start to treat with trying to attend to Colwyn. The injuries are so bad, they had to lift him out of the cell and take him upstairs, put him in the bench. Colwyn says that somehow a message got through to Georgetown. I don't know if it's the corporal or somehow a message got through, and then a message came back saying, "Take this guy to the hospital." The same officer who just finished blacking him out and beating him back to consciousness after he blacked out drives a police officer's car, not a police officer's car, along with that police officer, ostensibly to take him to Diamond or Georgetown. He doesn't know where they intended to take him. They drive and they stop at a rum shop. They go in the rum shop, they buy liquor, they come back out, and they drive him back to Mary Police Station. And Muslim says sometime during that night, the Sunday night, he hears the cell door and he sees Colwyn lying on the ground. The following, they come and they pick them up somewhere time around 5:30, 6 in the morning from Mary Police Station. This is Monday morning, to take them to Providence Police Station. As a matter of fact, just let me backtrack because it's so horrific. Somewhere in between there, Colwyn or Muslim, I can't remember who now, Colwyn says, "I can take you out to the media when they come out in here." And the police officer, one of the police officers says, "Y'all better give this man a charge, otherwise there's gonna be trouble." So they then decide after he says that he's taking it so, that they're gonna charge him. So he ends up in court on Monday. There's no case jacket for him. They didn't even plan to charge him, so there's no case jacket. Nothing at all for him. So they then say we can take him back to Mary Police Station. And he says, "For God's sake, don't take me back to police station, to Mary, I'm dead." He spends the night in Providence, and in the following morning, himself, Tiffany, and Tanisha are charged with disorderly behavior and, in his case, assaulting a peace officer. I'm still to ascertain, I think Tiffany got an extra charge. Tiana says, because she's the lightest and the one that had the most visible black eye on her face, says she tried to say to the magistrate, "We got injuries." And the magistrate, and Colwyn put up his hand, and the magistrate, they said, "You're gonna you're gonna deal with that at the trial." Everybody, that is Tiana and Tanisha and Colwyn are placed in $50,000 bail, and Tiffany gets $100,000 bail. They can't afford it. And this is the bail is for those offenses: assaulting a peace officer and disorderly behavior. They are remanded to prison. They all go down to prison. They all go down to the same minibus. Colwyn is dropped off at the Camp Street prison, and he says to his girlfriend, "Once you get bail, you're gonna be all right." He goes into the prison, and he says, "I've been beaten up by the police." There are a collection of prison officers there who start to mock him. They laugh at him. They start to mock him. So he doesn't make a report. They say next day, you could make the report. The next day comes, so he's in the prison injured. The next day comes, he attempts to make a report to the medic. They don't. I'm trying to remember. They don't want to record the report, and he is in the prison in serious pain. Must be about 5th, 6th day. He says to the medic, "Here, not to the medic, to the assistant to the medic, I'm in real pain. I'm in serious trouble here." And his ability his mobility is severely challenged. They take him over to wherever he's in the infirmary. So they have him in the infirmary, they examine him. The day or two after, must have been either 2 or the 2nd or 3rd day after, the pain in his sort of groin stuff in this area gets so bad, and it's at that stage I think his intestines end up in the scrotum, because he says the swelling in his scrotum is increasing. Goes to the medic at that stage. They take him to the hospital. He goes to the hospital, and this is an absolute, anyway, I'll come to that. He goes to the hospital, they examine him, and on the hospital record, and Melissa could confirm this, on the admission record to the hospital, there's a column that says the reason for why you came in. They have recorded, because we have that, he jumped 15 feet. So they said that the cause of this injury to his scrotum with his intestines in his scrotum is because he jumped 15 feet. There's no information as to whether, and this could only have been in the prison. because by then he had been in custody for 10 days. So they said he jumped 15 feet, and that is how come this injury. This is in the medical records that we finally collected yesterday. So they say that that was the cause. That is what the prison officer says to the doctor. So the doctors treat him and apparently schedule some surgery. He goes back to the prison, is in the infirmary, and either the second or the third night, he says he starts to puke green stuff. And when he was finished puking the green stuff, he got up to go to the bathroom, the restroom. Started to puke green stuff, and when that was finished, he started to puke blood. They then grabbed him and took him to the hospital again, where he's admitted, has emergency surgery. He has the surgery, and then it must have been about, I don't know, 4 or 5 days after, he then has another surgical intervention, another surgery, because of the complications, I assume. He's in there. His mother, on the 13th of December, right, Sharon? It was the 13th?
That was fair, yeah.
Gets the message when he's going to hospital that her son is critical. And she texts the commissioner of police, because she's an ex-policewoman. She texts the commissioner of police. And how long after? 5-10 minutes, you get a call from Mr. Ifill?
Not even so long.
All right. Almost immediately after she sends the text, what was the contents of the text?
These are the exact words. Mr. Bromell, I am trying to avoid going to the media concerning ranks at Temeri Police for buggering my son. Now he has to undergo a surgery. I need you to intervene. Those are the exact words of the text.
Good.
That Bromell can't remember.
The Bromell
He
can't
can't
remember.
remember that?
Okay.
Well, the commissioner probably don't remember too many things about buggering. But anyway, immediately after she sends that text, Mr. Ifill calls her, contacts her. She can give you the details. And then it's the next day you went down to the police station, isn't it?
No. I would have gone to, because when Ifill
How long
called
after
me.
Ifill called you?
Yeah, when
Go
Ifill
ahead.
called me, he put me on to Van der Heiden, who's in charge of the Temeri division. And Van promised to call me back the third night, of which he never did. He claims that he was calling and he couldn't get through to me, and I sat, something as important as that. And I slept with my cell phone name, and it never rang. And I checked next morning to see if there were any missed calls. None of that. So I said, wait, man, this man will call me back on something important. Anyhow, I allowed the entire day to go, and I decided to call him the night, which is the next night, right? And I just went off. I went off, I think, and he said, I said, but Van, my son didn't do nothing. His words to me was, Miss Harding, I know I already found that out. I said, so what, he should not even, I said, but Mr. Van, my son is critically ill. I said, Miss Harding, that's the reason why we have the commissioner asked me to investigate. And he said, bringing all the ranks and who got to lose the work, let her lose the work. Those were his exact words to me. George Ifill as well used those same words. He said, the commissioner said, investigate, and who got to get knocked off, let her get knocked off. So I said, knocking off ranks ain't going to satisfy me.
That is not going to be.
You understand me? Good.
So,
And like 2 days after, I called back Van again, and then he said, look, Mr. Harding, I'm sending you to Mr. Wallace at the police complaints department in Breakdown, of the which I did go.
and
Gave a statement, and as far as more, look, Mr. Wallace, I don't even know. But the thing is that he was so reluctant to take the statement, he didn't want to listen to me. As far as he concerned, you coming to complain to me for police? I'm a police. Tell me you really got no time with you. That was his, that was his attitude, generally. So he never did anything. And I insisted that, Mr. Van der Heiden told me, when I go to him, he would have made contact with Mr. Wallace to get a team of officers from that department to visit the boy hospital. Like as I said, Mr. Wallace was very reluctant, and, he never seemed interested in doing anything about the matter. He said to me that before the day is out, they are going to send somebody to the hospital. I made it my duty to go to the hospital. I waited right through visiting hours, even beyond visiting hours. Nobody turned up. 1 day, 2 days, then the weekend came. Nobody came. The next week, the whole week I'm waiting. Call back Van der Heiden again. I said, I'm sending you back to Mr. Wallace. And he's like, excuse me. I really meant was to tell him something, but I 2, 3, 4 times I keep calling Mr. Van der Heiden, I was really angry with him, And then the last time he said, But you have to go to Mr. Wallace. Mr. Wallace has to do this, and I refused to go to Mr. Wallace. Instead of going to Mr. Wallace, I went to Culture News. And that was like 3 weeks after.
All right,
Because I got tired of waiting on them.
Tiffany, relate what really took place.
On the
Because
14th of November, 3:30 a.m., I was coming back from the shop with a friend, which didn't get tackled already from the same police.
okay, this sing guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And while he's going back home with the same male friend, I heard a voice right inside my bundle ear house. And I heard in my bundle crying, and I said, no, there's gotta be something going on. This friend do that get tackled from the police telling me, Tiffany, don't go. So I asked him why I cannot like stand up in air. He crying. Gotta be something emergency, you know? And he was like, Tiffany, no. You know, he telling me why, and I just walk in the yard, and I walk in the house, and I saw Sing and others, which in this the group that he come with. He snatched me by me top, cause I hadn't brought it at the time. And I look come a black ugly scone, excuse my word.
But it's good that it came out that way. I did. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and I said, why you harassing me so? He said, where is your man? I said, if you get a warrant come out for me, man, you gotta look for it. You can't come assaulting me, Nadi, brother. It's too innocent when you are assaulting. If you shut up, shut your effing mouth. Why if you don't like black people and this and that? Where is going? Then pushing me through the door. I said, no, me going now. I stand up. I hold on upon the grill from the door. And I saw them pick up a bucket of water and dashed on my friend in bed while I was sleeping.
These are the two little, the 8-year-old and
the 8-year-old and 9-year-old.
Okay.
I started to cry. While it's going out, I heard Colwyn mouth on the bench that was at the back of the van. I heard him on the island, help, Tiffany, help me, calm my mother. I was assaulted by Officer Singh. And I just keep like laughing this by them believing, and something just tell me, Tiffany, wake up. 'Cause I was done vexed already with the officer done assault me, innocent two little brother-in-law. So this thing telling me, wake up. So Colwyn tell me, Tiffany, help me, panty in my mouth, but then stuff in my mouth. And I was like, I check in the mouth and I see the panty. I say, oh God, I go for use indecent language in the van same time. And he said, no, call my mother, collect this number, because they had phone and they told me the same time, and collect me phone. I said, oh God, then Kyrie at outpost, to Mary outpost, leave me there, go back, then went on some run, some searching run, come back, I saw Colwyn again, beat him up. He was handcuffed to the bed in the station in my 12-year-old brother-in-law. Me and Tanisha was sitting in the passageway while he's waiting for what they're going to say to us. This policeman was in this outpost with us, explaining everything that happened. This policeman telling me this officer rang, he picking up for Ika. He's human like we. There was his words when they come back. Then was yeah get up, jump in the van, and my words is to him that I'm not moving, I am not moving, I am in pain. He said you're moving. I end up sitting down in the passageway because I was in pain. When I tell you pain, I was in real pain. I end up sitting down in the passageway. He said, you don't get them. I said, no, he started to use his foot in from my stomach. Why is Colwyn girlfriend was picking me up? while traveling to the station, to Mary Station, I was bleeding. Asking them, I telling them police officer I bleeding, I passing blood. And telling me, shut your mouth. I start like, you know, opening my mouth in the van, crying, asking for help. End up meeting at the station. End up meeting at the station. Then put you at the back of the bench to sit down. And coffee on a foot. And coffee on a foot.
So,
I asking.
go ahead, all right, go ahead.
I asking them. I want bathe. I just bloody. I want bleed. Like naturally when I sit on this bench, and I get up back, I just see blood just run down me foot. I ask them for bathe. I tell them I want bathe. Then my woman end up standing up on top of the desk that I miss right on now. When I see that I bleeding, then I make no effort for coming for bathe. The night when I hold me by, the man when I hold me by, 5 o'clock the man in there go by my house, tumble my house, when everything me pot me stove, me clothes, everything me buy clothes, everything the freezer, everything. When me buy and the cousin stay on. When then coming with them and the clothes them, then shine the clothes at the back with everything, all these Stephen things, and cuff me back to the chair, the bench, from me foot to hand. I must start it since at the house and pick you up. Rodney Clark. Put Harvey on bench and cuff him. I just crying out for pain. Aaron, y'all help me.
So, Melissa, how you got into the picture?
Okay. I read in the newspaper about the incident, and I saw the name Harding. I saw Sharon Harding, the mother. I know Sharon. Sharon is a sister from People's Parliament, 1823 Coalition. Sorry, it was a bit hard to hear all of that, but yeah. So I decided when I read it, I said, you know, let me go see her, find out if this is Sharon's son. So when I went, and immediately when I saw her, I recognized, you know, it had to be her son, because I looked at her demeanor, and I said, Sharon, that's your son? Colwyn was your son? She said, yes. So I sat with her, and, you know, she told me what happened, and I said, okay, let's see how we could mobilize some support, because I couldn't imagine that any human being could be so inhumane and cruel to another human being. At that time, I was only aware of Colwyn's treatment. Hearing the treatment of other children and young women, I mean, in more recent times, this puts a whole new complexion on the brutalities that would have occurred during that particular time. But I just said to Sharon, let's see how we could get some legal representation for him. We will try to mobilize some finances so that, you know, we could assist in taking care of it, because at that time she said that the hospital had no colostomy bags. He needed the bags. He was getting infected. So I, you know, offered to help. At the same time, another sister, Charlene, heard about it, and she also offered to help, and that's how I got involved, as one friend to another.
Okay. Now the story broke in the media, and there was a lot of concern expressed by people. The police initially seemed to be, the commissioner, from his words, seemed to be annoyed, angry. The Ministry of Home Affairs, after people began talking, that they haven't even issued any statement, came out with a statement condemning the action of the police. And they seem to be on the side of the
Truth and
victim.
justice. Truth and justice.
Right.
Yes.
And we got the sense that they were going to take some kind of action. But then Barry Ramsaran went to Parliament and came up with some kind of fancy story, which my understanding is that even the parliamentarians on his side were annoyed with what he was trying to say. But since that came about, 3 doctors were on television trying to make Colwyn look like a liar. And we get a sense now that the government is seeming to suggest that the young man is lying, that everything that you would have said, that Tiffany would have said, that you all are liars. So, Mr. Hughes, where does that place us now?
Let me put it this way. The story, I actually was in office, heard of the story because my personal assistant read it to me. I thought it was, this got to be Abu Ghraib or, Guantanamo or something. I couldn't believe it was Ghana because she read the details. This allegation made by Mr. Harding was so graphic, it was so detailed, it numbed the minds of ordinary citizens who did not want to begin to contemplate that your son could suffer this fate. Anybody's child could suffer this fate. It was, I think, the whole concept of taking a foreign object, putting a condom in it, which is the height of real illness, and doing what he's alleged to have done, was so shattering to the confidence that people had in the police force. Even those that are big law and order supporters were absolutely horrified by the contents of this story. That initially, after saying let's be sympathetic, they realized that the credibility of the force had been so damaged by this allegation that they had to do something, because people were absolutely appalled. Absolutely appalled. So at that stage, forget the human tragedy. You got to close ranks, because the force cannot possibly suffer this level of assault on its integrity. So I think that the decision was taken at that stage, but look, you can't just cover this as a rogue cop, because this crime didn't just happen in the bedroom. These young people were in the police station for 3 to 4 days. So there was no way the police could separate themselves and say, actually Hannibal Lecter was the police constable, but the rest, the police, you had inspectors, you had corporals, and the entire system had failed. Now they knew not only we only knew at the time what happened to Colwyn, but they knew that Tiffany was bleeding, that who got beaten, because they would have spoken in between themselves. They would have known the real story. Now, there is no amount of lipstick you can put on that. So what you gotta do is you then go for the victim, because that's the only thing you can really do. You gotta go for the victim and attack him with all you've got. Now, the best way you can do that is ostensibly go to forensics. You got the doctors. Now, what the doctors said wasn't that this injury could not have been caused. They didn't say that. They were very careful to say, they didn't say that this injury could not have been caused by...
their credibility would have been on the line.
All they said is what they treated him for was a hernia. Now, we did some research. I mean, there's a medical expert coming in, and I'm not going to pretend to be a medical expert. But the type of treatment, and you will forgive my brutalization of the word, the coloscopy, whatever it is not typical treatment for hernia.
Okay.
Hernia is I don't want to say straightforward, it's an injury, it's quite serious, but hernia is not treated by the methodology that they deploy. And when you look at the excuse or the record that they have in the hospital that said this man jumped 15 feet, they don't say whether he jumped 15 feet off the hospital, off the prison roof, if you long jump 15 feet, they just say you jump 15 feet, as an explanation for the hernia, demonstrates that they had problems. Now, for somebody to be in the infirmary in the prison where they start puking green and then puking blood, that doesn't happen overnight. This man was in the infirmary within 3 or 4 days. Now, Mr. Harding is not charged with murder. He's not charged with rape. He's not charged with child molestation. He's charged with disorderly conduct and assaulting a police officer whose hand he bit when he was trying to stuff underwear in his mouth. Now, you would have to be of unbelievably perverse nature to create a story about a police officer putting a condom and a baton 6 weeks afterwards. For what motive? You're going to get free treatment in the public hospital. You don't know. This can't be to get you off of a disorderly behavior charge. You're not facing life imprisonment. So for what reason would somebody create this fantastic story which clearly would humiliate him? Because at the time of creating this story, he has to know that for the rest of his life, he is going to be associated with this incident. He can't avoid that. So the mere suggestion that somehow this 19-year-old young man, or 80, whatever his age is, would create this story when? Not immediately after the incident, but after his mother goes to the press. And this is a desperate mother who in December doesn't go to the press. She doesn't go to a lawyer, but you can understand that because if you can't even bail your son, you're not likely to go to a lawyer. She goes to the commissioner, a man whose number she had, because all she wanted then was for her son to get treatment. Now this had to be a massive conspiracy between her sick son, who was on death's door, the mother, his girlfriend, Tanisha, Tiffany, to tell the story. Muslim, the men in the cells, and the police who have all this information, or the commissioner police. You can't go higher than the commissioner police to complain. The average citizen can only go to the police station. She went to the highest possible law enforcement officer, only to get what? So that her son would be okay when her son was in the emergency room. So the suggestion that somehow this is a manufactured story boggles my mind. The other thing that is most troubling about this, we gathered, and I'm talking about the team, statements from the prisoners who were in the cells, 2 of them. All these people were in police custody, so they had easy access. Ronsley was in the jail. We got a statement from him. The 2 young ladies, Tiffany and Tanisha, were in the New Amsterdam prison. So this is an investigation that couldn't take more than 3 days. It didn't take us more than 3 days, and that is with the team working, doing other things. So how the police can explain it takes 4 weeks, where all the evidence is in state custody, they're incarcerated. Mr. Harding is incarcerated, Mr. Wensley Clark is incarcerated, Miss Evans is incarcerated, Miss Edwards is incarcerated. All the people who were there are incarcerated, and those that are not incarcerated are in the police force. And the only reason that they get active is because of the press report, not anything else. They didn't fear the law. They didn't fear the fact that the boy might die. They feared nothing other than the fact that their reputation, when challenged by the report, by this horrific account of what happened, then they suddenly scramble. And then is when you start to get the beginnings of an investigation. It was only last week that they sat down with Colwyn and took a detailed statement which took 8 hours. What was preventing that happening since the 14th or 15th of December? Either Mr. Harding did not come because he was a nobody, he wasn't powerful, he didn't have access. And the sad thing about this is, were it not for the publication of this gross event, this would have gone on, nothing would have happened, and God forbid, if Mr. Harding would have died, it would have been recorded as prisoner passes out and dies. The only reason we are having this discussion is because Kaitro News published the article, which means then that for the life of anybody in here, if you don't have access to the press, you're cocked up. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable.
But the amazing thing is that it seems as though, okay, the cover-up is coming from the police. Why would the members of the prison get involved so that they would go to the hospital to take away the phone and ill-treat him, even though they understood his condition?
You know, I never understand to this. I deal with these people every day.
Then the next thing they tell we, the four of us, if we go to prison, them left in them job.
If you don't go to prison.
Exactly. They're left in them job.
So, Dr. Ifill.
You're asking me to explain something that I can't quite comprehend, to tell you the truth. I can't imagine that 4 individuals could see someone shackled to a bed, obviously injured, and could still wrestle, twist his arm, attempt to slap him, brutalize him. I can't imagine what manner of individuals we're dealing with. I don't know if it's lack of training. I suspect that might be part of it. Clearly, there's a culture of violence that pervades the security services. That appears to be the modus operandi. This is not an isolated incident. We have a culture of police brutalizing citizens for minor and myriad offenses. And clearly, we have to address it. I think we've gotten to a low that we always say it can't go lower, but clearly it appears as though we can.
Somebody's calling. You want us to take this call?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, caller, you're on the air.
Yes, good evening to you. Good evening to everyone that's there. Mr. Hughes, good evening to you too. Why I'm calling is not out of concern but experience. And, you know, we can go on and on, irrespective of what we say, until we come to the reality of accepting that the police force is a law unto themselves. I don't think we have anywhere to go. There are numerous cases, I'm sure Mr. Hughes can tell you. There's Shaka Chase that was charged for murder. You understand? Of course, he was at nowhere at the murder scene at that time. Irrespective of senior police officers being able to attest to this, he was still charged. There are other people that have taken Steve Leary, ill-treated, abused, and not only by constables or sergeants, by assistant superintendents, by the deputy crime chief, and nothing is done. You understand? So, irrespective of what we say and what we say at this forum, until we can come together and sing with one voice, you understand, we're not making any progress. Taking matters to courts, and then you have people that fail to honor whatever the court instructs, only causes delay, and delays just like starting us at the same point where we at. Injustice.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, but are we saying that you said the police began closing ranks?
Think about it. Look at it the other way. If the commissioner of police came out and said, yes, this boy was sexually assaulted, yes, he sat down and was knocked unconscious repeatedly in the police station, yes, there was a woman who was hemorrhaging and we did nothing, yes, there was an inspector in the station, yes, there was supervision for the station, what do you think the reaction would be? Just contemplate what you think the reaction would be, and then when he releases the names of the assailants in this racially divided society we have, what you think would happen? He can't. Under no circumstances can he do that. You would have a riot. I don't know if Guyanese is still capable of rioting, but I mean, I believe you would have a riot. He can't. Even if he has the facts in front of him as a result of his own private investigation, is convinced that this is what happened. He cannot publicly, just cannot publicly, say it. They just can't. Because the police can't justify their inability to act for 3 days with 2 females, 18 and 19. This young lady has never been in prison in her life. Hemorrhaging. This man making this allegation that it's so outrageous, he cannot admit it. So it's not closing ranks. It's, the force is what, maybe 200 years old or something years old. What you have to do is you have to either deflect or take the intensity of the criticism, because at the end of the day, you need a police force. You have to have a police force. And for you to have a police force, it can only survive if there's some level of trust and confidence. Yeah. And if you say that the basis of that has totally evaporated as a result of the act not of one police, but of several policemen, they can't function. So he doesn't, I don't want to say he doesn't have a choice. I didn't expect him to say anything else.
Well, can I just say that we are not prepared to accept any investigation of the particular incident and the officers at the Tamari police station that is conducted by the police. We are calling for an independent investigation into this particular incident. It's the nature of it is so heinous, the implications so grave that we will not accept any report coming from the police. Clearly, they have already signaled to us what they're going to say even before the report has been completed. So, you know, we have no reason to have any confidence in the report. And similarly, we have been calling for, which has been denied, an independent investigation, medical investigation and examination of Mr. Harding at the hospital where the surgeon could have had access to all of his records. Again, similarly, that was denied. We got the letter today, yesterday, the same day, or in fact after Mr. Harding had been discharged.
Yeah, but Barry Ramsaran said that, you know, a doctor was coming from Linden, that it's open to any.
Yeah, you see, that's the difficulty with the spoken word in a society that is as electronic as this, because you just have to say the word, and that's it. The commissioner just has to say the officer denied. Because if you look at it, you as a commissioner of police, you receive a report on the 13th of December that one of your own has sexually assaulted a prisoner. So this is a man who is in custody and helpless. Where do you send it? To the Office of Professional Responsibility? That's a report of a criminal offense. If you receive, this is to the highest up. Think of those poor people who can only call the police station. They don't get an answer. This woman had access to the commissioner of police. She couldn't go any higher in terms of law enforcement. And her complaint wasn't an ordinary complaint. It wasn't about a neighbor behaving badly or playing music. It was about an assault on her son. And it gets sent to the Office of Professional Responsibility. It is not treated as a report of a crime, which is what it was. What should have happened, it should have been immediately launched a criminal investigation, because in effect what you're saying is the person who is responsible for protecting the citizen took power and advantage over a person who was in the cells. This is not even a person walking on the street. This is a person who was in custody in a house, knock him out, beat him up. It couldn't get worse than that.
Let me just take this caller. Yes, caller, you're on the air. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Kindly turn on your television, please.
Come turn on. Sir, I'm very grateful to get some kind of information where I lost a son on the 2nd of this month. 2 friends took him away, and around 10 o'clock, and when I got a message around 5 o'clock, I had a dead message. Said his child dead. I went to Kitty Police Station. They said I can't do nothing about it. I don't know where to turn to, where to go to. But I got a medical and everything to show.
Okay. All right, I don't know. We'll talk about the matter afterwards. And
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Yes, but I'm talking about the prison, the members of the prison. Are they somehow feeling also that they will come under some kind of fire, some kind of pressure, because they ignored something that was evident, that this man was ill, he needed attention, and they procrastinated on the entire thing.
Absolutely. The institutions operate that way. Anytime an institution is going to be embarrassed, it acts to protect itself. Every institution acts that way. They didn't want Harding dying in the prison. And I really have to commend his mother, because were it not for her determination, every mother will do that, but at least she was determined. She went to the commissioner, and then when she gave him more than enough time to act, she, last resort, she went to the press. And you will discover, not discover, we know, the police are not afraid of the lawyers. They're not afraid of any sanctions. They're not afraid of anything other than publicity. Nothing. Nothing else has any impact. And unfortunately, she did the reverse. She thought the commissioner of police, because she's an ex-policewoman, would be able to help. Is when, after 3-4 weeks, there was a total failure to act. She went to the press, and we got instant responses.
Okay, I'm being signaled that we need to tie up the program. So where do we go from here with the matter?
First of all, the committee is taking a number of measures to secure the best possible treatment for Mr. Harding, and to also have a forensic type of medical examination conducted on him. To this end, we will be taking him to Jamaica to be treated at UWE's medical hospital. And we are very gratified at the response of the Guyanese public and the population. We are thankful and we're grateful for all that they have done to support Colwyn and his mother during this extraordinarily difficult time by providing colostomy bags, which again, the hospital did not have. He was using plastic bags, and he was using Ziploc bags. And up to the day he was discharged, a nurse came and borrowed a colostomy bag from him to use on another patient.
So why is Barry telling people, what is this guy really getting on the media and saying?
Clearly, there's some disconnect somewhere. But we are taking all measures that we could to, first of all, ensure that he recovers and that he's restored to good health. And we just want to thank everyone for supporting us. All of the support that we have gotten so far, it has been tremendous financially, in terms of providing bags, diapers, ointments, even clothing for him, items of clothing, and we are grateful. The flights are being sponsored. The doctors are giving their services pro bono. We want to thank Mr. Hughes for also giving his services pro bono. Other lawyers have also signaled that they're willing to work on the case. And so we're just grateful to everyone. And we will keep everyone updated in terms of his progress, and we will definitely seek to get justice for Colwyn.
As
Colwyn
victims
Harding.
of this entire incident, what are you expecting to come out of all this?
I expect we get the reward, car. This police officer will harass me Harding, telling Harding whine like a woman, like he was like something wrong in the brains.
Okay.
I expect war. I
All
expect
right.
war.
Thank you very much for being on the program. I really don't know what to say, but this country really, really needs to have some kind of... Ladies and gentlemen, I'm lost for words, and I'm a man of words, but I'm happy that you would have listened, you understand what is happening. The people at the hospital obviously are trying to cover it up. Michael Khan, who said that they're always in possession of colostomy bags and all these things that they've been telling people. We're up against a system that really is seeking to defend itself, and we as a people have to seek to defend ourselves and our rights and our citizens. Do have a good night, and we will keep you updated on the progress in this matter. Thank you. Good night.